the CONE6211 assignment 1. Looking at the assignment, firstly, I need to read what is the case study all about. So the case study is about a technopark company's network infrastructure, and they give me some details about the technopark network infrastructure, such as it has Windows Server 2022, and it has all of these different server services that are running, such as Active Directory, DHCP, DNS, Group Policy Management, Remote Desktop Services, Hyper-V, Windows Defender, etc. So what I've done is I went into Visio, and based on the case study, I've drawn a Visio diagram to represent what the case study looks like. So from the diagram, I can see for Technopark, they've got a data center. In the data center, they're running Active Directory, DNS. They've got group policies, network security, DHCP server, Active Directory domain services, a firewall. There's additional services here, such as network perimeter security, etc. They told us in the scenario as well that we are using a gigabit Ethernet. So I've indicated we're using gigabit Ethernet and we're using Wi-Fi version 6. They've also told us then we've got startups and we've got research labs, and these are going to be the clients that's going to be accessing the data center. The clients are all running Windows 11, and we have startups and research labs. So let's go ahead and have a look at the question now and see what is required of us. Firstly, they say we need to create 2 virtual machines. One is going to be a server. So this is Windows Server 2022. And the next one is going to be a client, Windows 11. Now we've checked and they said that since the ISO for Windows 11 is not there, we can use the Windows 10 ISO. Now if I go back and if I look at the mark allocation or the marking rubric, I can see for the installation of the virtual computer, I'm going to get 8 marks, and for the server virtual computer is 8 marks, and for the client virtual computer is 7 marks, making a total of 15 marks. Then the next question is looking at, in Technopark's ICT manager delegates you a design to design an infographic that distinguishes the differences between 3 cloud models. Each model should include a suitable example where each model is applied. The purpose of the infographic is to assist in training ICT interns. Now we can see that we've got cloud model 1, 2, and 3, and then they give us marks for the infographic. So let's start the process of the installation of the server and the client computer. I'm going to start my first virtual machine installation. I'll go to a Hyper-V in my Azure Virtual Lab Services. So I open up Azure Virtual Lab Services. I press the Windows key and I'm going to type in Hyper. It's going to show me Hyper-V Manager. And I'm going to say I want to create a new virtual machine. I'll go next. What do you want to name this virtual machine? So let's see if I can move this so that it's side by side. It says that the first virtual machine must be my student number VM server. So I'm going to say it is ST, whatever my student number is, VM for virtual machine, and then server. I'm going to say dash server, and I'm going to say 2022. Server 2022. This is going to give me a better idea now that there's my student number VM server 2022. It's going to store it in the default location. They say it must be a generation 1 virtual computer. I'm going to go next. Generation 1 is selected by default. Startup memory is going to be 4 gigabytes. So I can type in 4000 here and go next. Then they say virtual hard disk must be 50 gigabytes. Students can use any capacity so long as it maintains the functionality of the VM. The operating system must be Server 2022 and configure networking by attaching the VM to an external virtual switch for internet access. So I need internet access. I'm going to click on the drop down and then I'm going to use the default switch. The default switch is the one that's going to connect me to the internet. I'll go next. It's giving me a summary of the virtual hard drive. Do I need to make any changes here? No. It says 50 gigabytes here, but I'm just going to leave it as the default because they said we could use any capacity. I'm going to go next. I'm going to select the operating system, click on the image file, click on browse, and then I'm looking for 2022. So as you can see, there's no Windows 11 here. So we're going to use the Windows 10 Enterprise Edition, and we're going to use the Windows Server 2022. So I'll click on the Server 22. I'll say open. Going to go next and then finish. I'm going to connect to that virtual computer. Start it. Any other settings that they told me I need to configure here? They also have asked us here, check and modify VM settings, such as increasing the RAM, and explain the impact of these changes. We'll have a look at that once the virtual computer has been installed. We'll go next, install now. And we're going to select the standard desktop experience. If I select the first one, it doesn't have a graphic user interface. It means it will only load the command line version of the operating system. I'm going to mainly be working with the desktop experience, meaning the graphic user interface. Accept the terms and conditions, go next, and I'm going to click on custom. I'll leave this as it is, next, and then it starts copying the files. Whilst it's doing that, let's look at the next question and what is required. The next question says about the cloud model. I need to do an infographic. I'm going to now go into my module outline document. In my module outline document, it says theme 1 speaks about virtualization, that's Hyper-V. Theme 2 is going to speak about server and cloud models. That's what the second question is asking me for 1.2. And which module is this? Module 1. We have been given slides. So if I go to my slides and if I open up the slides for module 1, I can see what am I going to learn about in this module? The role of the server operating system, the core technologies of Windows Server, and describe Windows Server hybrid infrastructure. Role of the server operating system, I'm actually looking for cloud. So I'm going to search. What am I looking for? Cloud. And I can see here there's cloud technologies that's being discussed here. Windows Server 2022 core technologies. Core technologies include the following: server manager, NTFS, MMC, disk management, file and print serving, Hyper-V, and cloud computing. I'm going to continue. Where's the next mention? NTFS. So disk management. Remember, disk management, MMC, all of these are examples of Microsoft Management Consoles or utilities. File and print sharing, networking concepts, networking components. I continue. Active Directory, PowerShell. There we go. Cloud computing. So it says cloud computing is a collection of technologies for abstracting the details of how applications, storage, network, and other computing resources are delivered to users. Virtualization uses software to emulate multiple hardware environments so that multiple operating systems can run on the same physical server simultaneously or at the same time. Now, this is the virtualization part. There we go. Cloud. Public cloud versus private cloud. The public cloud is a cloud computing service that is provided by a third party. Examples include Dropbox, OneDrive, Google Apps. A private cloud is a cloud computing service provided by an internal IT department. Typical services include virtual desktop storage and applications. With virtual desktop infrastructure or VDI, users connect to a private cloud with a web browser or a client software. They can access the desktop from any internet connection. And then they go on to speak about storage spaces. And then as I page down, I can see there I come to cloud models. What is the question asking me here? The question is asking me, there's three cloud models. I need to draw an infographic. Firstly, identify the cloud models. So what are the three cloud models? The three main categories of cloud service include the following: software as a service, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service. There's your first three marks. Next, what are they looking for? A brief definition of each of them. So what do they mean? If we look here, let's see what definitions they are giving here. Software as a service where the customer pays for the use of applications that run on a service provider's network. For example, Microsoft 365 has got subscriptions. You can get a personal subscription or you can get a family subscription. For the personal subscription, I pay maybe 30 Rand a month or 40 Rand a month to use Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Visio, and Outlook, and any of the software. So that would be an example of software as a service. Platform as a service, where the customer develops applications with the service provider's tools and infrastructure. In other words, customer develops applications with the service provider's tools and infrastructure. We if I'm, let's say for example, okay, let's look at a program that we can use to draw an infographic. I'm going to go and open up my Chrome browser. You can do this in Edge as well. I'm using both the browsers in this case. Let me just see on Edge if I can get it quicker. I'm going to use a tool like Canva. Canva. Okay, Canva. There's a free version of Canva that you can use as well. Let's see. If I search for an infographic, start designing. So you need to have created an account to use a tool like this. I'm going to, let's just see if my, okay, I still need to sign in here anyway. I'm going to open up Canva. Just to give you an idea of what these infographics look like and what we are looking for. And then since I've got Visio open here as well, let's just see if I can do a diagram in Visio. So I'm going to go to File. So I can click on templates and I want to search for infographic about cloud networking infographic. And let's see what it comes up with. So this is typically what an infographic looks like. It's got pictures and explanation of is cloud computing services, cloud computing services. I'm just going to choose one. I'm going to choose this one. And I'm going to say customize the template. Now there's various free online tools that you can use to create this as well. I'm just doing an example to illustrate what does a infographic look like and what is required of you for this question. So it says I must tell, I'm in the infographic, I need to include the following. What is the name of the cloud model? What is it about? And give an example. Let's just check on the progress of my virtual computer. I'm going to enter my password. Okay, so I've got my, I'm just going to make this one smaller. So the demo 800 by 600. I'm going to connect. And then I'm going to log in. And this is my server that's been installed. So whilst that is being installed now, I can go ahead and continue with the second one. So I can say new. Let's start the installation process of the second one. The second one says that the virtual machine should be called student number, VM, and I'm going to say it's a Win 10 client. Gonna go next, generation 1, next. Memory, it also says 4000. Go next. Create a checkpoint for recovery in case of misconfiguration. We'll connect it to the default switch as well. Go next. Install an operating system. We'll click on ISO, click on Browse, and then go to Windows 10. Open. Next. And finish. We'll connect and get the process of the installation started. Doesn't seem to be doing anything. I'm just going to restart. Okay, so it was just taking some time to load. We'll go next, install now. So as you can see, I start the installation, I let it run in the background, and then I continue with the rest of the assignment. So then I can maximize the time that I have available. Or I can be more productive in the time that I have available. So whilst this is copying, let's go and have a look at that infographic. There we go. There's the infographic, cloud computing services. So for example, here, I know that I want, there's my cloud models. So I'm going to put my cloud models here, and then there's my infographic here. I need to speak about cloud models. So I can change this now to cloud models. And then here, for example, this one here can be software as a service. Next one is going to be platform as a service. Next one is going to be infrastructure as a service. And then I continue. Now here, for example, I'm going to write the description, and then I'm going to change this around. So currently I need to resize this and move it around. If I'm going to say software as a service, maybe I want to put in the description here. In this one here, I can move it so it's out of the way, or I can align it. And the last one here, I can move that as well. If I don't need this introduction, I can actually delete that introduction. but you're getting the idea. So this is what, now here, I don't want these people's name. So I might say this is for who? For Techno Park. Techno Park. That's this case study. Cloud models, and then I can see here's my infographic. So in the infographic, I'm going to have graphics and text, and there's the model, software as a service, etc. I'm going to, in these blocks here, I'm going to give a description, and I'm going to give an example of each of them. And that's what question 1.2 is going to look like. Continuing now with the assignment. So I'm busy installing this. So once I've done those two, I'm going to have to take screenshots. And the screenshots would include how did I configure networking to attach to the virtual switch for internet access. Check and modify your VM settings, such as increasing RAM, and explain the impact of those changes. Let me go to my virtual computer now. So I've got this one that's installing. This is the client. And if I go to the server, here's VM server. So I'm going to say yes. And then they speak about the Windows Admin Center. We're going to have a look at that later on. So I've got my server here. What do they want me to take screenshots of? So firstly, to prove that I've installed. So all of this information here. So where would I find this information? If I go to Hyper-V, and if I go to the server, and if I go to the settings of the server, I can see from this diagram, there's all my memory, processor, hard drive, network is connected to default switch, etc. Okay, so all of this info here, configure. So I need to have, okay, so I need to show that I've done this screenshot. Let me go and open up my answer document on my file explorer. I'm just going to go to my CONE folder. And from the CONE folder, I'm going to create a new Word document. And this is my CONE6211 assignment 1. I am S. Naidu, and my student number is that. So I'm going to go into the document. Now this is a draft. So I typed in that this is my CONE6211 assignment 1. What is my name? And what is my student number? And now I can start. Question 1. Okay, for the first question, what do I need to show? That I've got this virtual machine that has been created. It's generation 1. Startup memory is that, virtual hard drive, that, and then configure networking. It's attached to external virtual switch, and then check and modify. So all of this needs to be in that answer. I'm going to copy that, go to my answer document, and I'm going to paste it there. And I'm going to ensure that I take screenshots that prove that I've got all of this. If I go in here now, the first screenshot I'm going to take is going to be this one here, settings. So I'll take the screenshot of this one here where it's showing me that there's the name of the virtual machine, ST. It's connected to the default switch. It's got 4,000 or 4 gigs of memory. There's my hard drive. I'm attached to Windows Server 2022. Anything else I need? Check and modify settings such as RAM by adding processor and then explain the impact. So for the first question here, I will take this screenshot here of this window here. And so for example, if I was inside this program and I went to snipping tool, what I'm going to take off a picture of is going to be this one here. So that's what I'm going to take, and then I'm going to put the screenshot into my Word document. The next one, I'll do exactly the same, but now also it asks me to, if I had to go and modify these settings. In other words, here, if I go back to the settings, and if I click on the processor, if I had to change any of these processor settings, what will be the impact? If I had to change the memory, what will be the impact? That's what these two questions are asking. And here, okay, we haven't installed that. It wants us to install a checkpoint. There you can see there's the checkpoints here. Okay, so checkpoints are included here, but we need to do this on the client computer. So I'm going to cancel. I'm going to go back to my client computer. Let's see what progress. Okay, it's loaded all of the files. It's busy rebooting. So I've done question 1.2, which was the infographic. And then in the next demo, we'll have a look at question 2. Basically, into question 2, we are going into the server. We're changing the server's name. We're going to install Active Directory, and we're going to call it this domain. Then we're going to set the server's IP address, but we actually need to set the IP address before we do the installation of the domain. Then they say start the VM and install the OS from the attached ISO, take a screenshot. Change the computer name, manual IP configuration, join the client to the domain. So we need to install the domain controller, and then we need to connect the client computer to the domain controller. Thereafter, it says we need to go into the group policy management, and we need to set these password policy settings, account lockout policy settings, and then in the additional security settings. Finally, question 3 is going to have a look at working with hybrid environment. So let's just complete the installation of this client, and then that will complete the first demo. For question 1 from assignment 1 for CONE 6211. Whilst that is loading, I'm just going to go to the YouTube channel. So this was my infographic. Just going to go to YouTube and I'll upload this demo on the YouTube channel. With the region, so the region is going to be South Africa, South Sudan, South Africa. US keyboard layout is okay. Skip additional keyboard layout. Okay, so it says sign in with Microsoft accounts. I don't want to sign in with the Microsoft account, so let's see. Join domain instead. Who's going to use the computer? I'm going to put my name. Or since they use the convention of student number, I'll say ST and whatever my student number, I'll say next. Password, answer some security questions. We'll just accept all these default settings. We can always go and change the configuration later on, according to what's required for the question. So whilst this is here, Learning Unit 2, Theme 1, Components of Active Directory. Let's see what slides are those. Components of Active Directory is Module 2 and 3 slides. And then Learning Unit 3, Theme 2. Let's see, Learning Unit 3, Theme 2. Learning Unit 3, Theme 2. There's Theme 1, Theme 2. There's the hybrid environment. That's Module 6. I can go to my Module 6 slides as well. Okay, we're ready to connect now. I'm going to log into my client. And there's my client that has been installed. Now I can go here to Hyper-V Manager, click on the client, click on its settings, and then take a screenshot. They spoke about checkpoints. So here, enable checkpoints and then the rest of the configuration. So then the next screenshot that I'm going to take is going to be, so snipping tool. I'll take a new screenshot now. Okay, so you would close this one here. I'll say new screenshot and I'll take the screenshot of the client this time with the checkpoints, this one here. And that concludes this demo.